Remember Dolly? Dolly was the cloned Scottish lamb that captured the imagination and wonder of the world. She was a celebrity among celebrities. But her charm faded fast as people began to wonder, what did her birth mean for human reproduction? After all, we're mammals just like Dolly. Would the procedures that created Dolly also apply to human beings? Was the technology out there? And if so, who would clone and who would decide? The excitement, the hoopla, and the hype that surrounded Dolly's birth quickly faded and turned to fear. People were completely unprepared to think about human cloning, and the reactions on the part of scientists and the public were mostly negative. Discussions that took place were not fueled by scientific reasoning, but by immediate emotional reactions. People forgot that when in vitro fertilization, or IVF, was first introduced in the United Kingdom in 1978 and in the US in 1981, the reaction was the same. People wondered, what would this mean for families? But now IVF is a standard reproductive procedure. Science moves forward, not backward, and new reproductive technologies are being introduced all the time. New procedures can be scary until we understand their benefits and identify their possible challenges. Human reproductive cloning is no exception. Guidelines and controls are absolutely needed because we don't know if a scientist is out there somewhere quietly tinkering away in a laboratory. So we need to be prepared. But first, what is a clone? A clone is an organism that is genetically identical to another organism. Identical twins are clones. They result when a single fertilized egg divides between the 1st and 14th day after conception. They share all their genes, they're the same sex, and most importantly, part of the same generation. But the reverse is not true. Clones are not identical twins. And it will help you to look at this chart to understand why. First, identical twins are conceived at the same time. Donors and clones are conceived at different times. Identical twins share a womb. Donors and clones have separate wombs. Identical twins are delivered at the same time. Donors and clones are delivered at different times. Identical twins are part of the same generation. Donors and clones are part of different generations. It's also the case that some scientists and journalists talk about human reproductive clones as twins, or delayed genetic twins, and that is completely misleading, as you can tell from this chart. But let's get back to Dolly. So shortly after her birth, the National Bioethics Advisory Board issued a report. And interestingly, that report was chaired by Dr. Harold Shapiro, himself an identical twin. Unfortunately, the authors of that report did not cite scientific twin research findings, and that's unfortunate because twins are our best models for understanding the challenges that human reproductive cloning has raised. Years before Dolly was born, I contributed to the treasure trove of research that helped us make sense of this. And we must bring that research into the conversation, because this conversation will come up again. Now, let's think about the challenges that human reproductive cloning has raised and how twin research has addressed them. Challenge 1. Cloned children would suffer from diminished autonomy. Hundreds of interviews with identical twins show that is not the case. Many identical twins tell you they have two identities, one with the twin, one apart from the twin, and some say they don't even look alike. Some identical twins marry identical twins because they so value that relationship and they feel other people won't understand it. So if identical twins do not feel diminished autonomy, it's unlikely cloned children would as well. Challenge 2. Cloned children would suffer from social stigma. Well, think about identical twins in the same generation walking down the street. They're immediately recognizable because of their matched physical appearance, and they're the envy of many people. Now imagine you as an adult, walking down the street holding the hand of your cloned child. It is virtually impossible that anybody would ever suspect you were a cloned child donor-parent pair. So if you're not recognizable, there can be no stigma. Challenge 3. Parental expectations of cloned children would be unusually high. Most parents have expectations for their children. They want their children to have the educational resources and cultural activities they may have missed. And they want to see their children go to the best schools and excel at their chosen professions and maybe even take over the family business. And they're disappointed when children don't make those expectations. It should be no different for donor parents. In fact, donor parents might have special insights into their child as a result of their shared genetic connection. And this might help to keep their expectations more realistic. You know, think of the actor Kirk Douglas and his son Michael. He didn't want Michael to become an actor. Michael did so anyway. He followed his inclinations just like any child, cloned or non-cloned, would do. And challenge 4. The unusual relationships generated by human reproductive cloning would be unusually harmful to family members, such as mother-cloned daughter or father-cloned son. But now I want you to think about the classic novel Gone with the Wind. Think about Rhett Butler's reflections when he and Scarlett lost their little daughter Bonnie. Rhett says, "I like to think that Bonnie was you again, Scarlett, a little girl. She was so like you. She was so gay and willful and brave and full of high spirits, and I wanted to pet and spoil her, just like I wanted to pet and spoil you." Like Rhett Butler, most parents are happy to see their own traits in their child, but they're also happy to see the traits of their partner in that child. And that should be especially true for donor parents who might experience this in a deeper way because of their genetic tie. Now, several years ago, I met Andrew and Elad, the fathers of fraternal twin sons, Aiden and Ethan. The twins are conceived with the help of donated eggs fertilized by the sperm of the father. Well, it turned out that Andrew was the biological father of Aiden, and Elad was the biological father of Ethan. And both men were so excited to see their traits in the child they had fathered. But more interestingly, they were excited to see the traits of their partner in the child they did not father. And that would be equally true for the partner of a donor parent. So, as science moves forward, not backward, we can expect human reproductive cloning to be in the news again. We do not have to be fearful if we are prepared. Thorny issues such as who would clone and who would decide remain. Now, if human reproductive cloning should prove safe and effective, I suspect that most people will still want to have children the old-fashioned way, or through some other standard reproductive procedure like IVF. And I say that because we now have the technology to enable 70-year-old women to become pregnant with donated eggs. But you don't see 70-year-old women rushing out to become mothers. Just because a procedure is available doesn't mean everybody's going to rush out and use it. So the bottom line is that twin research findings must be inserted into conversations surrounding human reproductive cloning. We need to keep this in mind as we proceed, and it's the case that twins remain our best human models for thinking scientifically about where we'll take human reproductive cloning from here. Thank you.